Chapter 4. Cerulea's Rest. The moment Izzy's boots touched the dock, she threw her arms wide as if she might embrace the entire island. Salt wind tangled her hair, sunlight struck her eyes until they glowed, and the words tumbled out of her in a rush. "God's above, look at it!" And truly, there was nothing else to do but look. The waters of Cerulea's Rest gleamed the bluest she had ever seen, clear as glass and alive with darting fish that shimmered like silver coins in the shallows. White sands curved along the shoreline like spilled pearls, broken here and there by palms that leaned lazily into the breeze. Villas painted in seafoam greens and sun-washed golds climbed the hillsides, their tiled roofs flashing like gems in the morning sun. Closer, the dockside streets thrummed with color and sound. Vendors stirred steaming pots of mussels and squid, their broth hissing with herbs and wine. Skewers of roasted fish snapped and crackled above charcoals, the smoke rich and mouth-watering. Barrels of oranges and pomegranates glowed red and gold, piled so high it seemed impossible they wouldn't topple. Wine shops spilled laughter into the streets, their doors yawning wide onto taverns where the drink ran like rivers and every face seemed sun-kissed, untroubled and smiling. Kaelen paused beside her, filling his lungs with the savory smoke drifting from a beachside stall. His shoulders eased as though every inch of him, scar, steel and all, had been waiting for this. "Smells like heaven," he rumbled. Izzy spun slowly on her heel, arms still outstretched, watching the crowd swirl past. Women in linen dresses carried baskets brimming with citrus. Bronzed sailors with rings in their ears bargained with jewel-eyed merchants. Children ran barefoot, laughing, their skin golden from the sea. Not a one bore the shadow of Selene, or the stain of battle. Everyone was beautiful here, as though the island had blessed them for staying. Izzy let her arms drop at last, grinning sideways at Kaelen. "Gods, even the drunkards look like they belong on a mural. And us," she plucked at her salt-stiff cloak and wrinkled her nose. "We look like we washed up with the tide." Kaelen snorted, adjusting the greatsword strapped across his back. "We did." For a heartbeat, they both simply stood there, taking it all in. The waters, the sands, the scent of wine and roasting fish, the sound of gulls wheeling above the laughter of a people who lived as though the world beyond the island didn't exist. Izzy drew a slow breath, her smile softening. Maybe paradise isn't such a lie after all. The dock spilled them into a cobbled main street wide enough for wagons but given over now to stalls and wandering feet. Linen awnings stretched in bright stripes overhead, dappling the road with patches of shade. Every step brought a new perfume, jasmine woven into garlands, sea brine, the smoke of roasting meats. Music drifted too, lilting from a minstrel with a lute, caught up in the laughter of a crowd gathered around him. Izzy walked with her head turning every which way, her eyes greedy for color. "I swear, Kaelen, even the stones are brighter here." He grunted, though his gaze lingered on a spit turning slowly over coals, fat dripping onto flame. "Stones I'll leave to you. Food's what's worth the paint." The street narrowed, then widened again as they stepped into a plaza where the air shimmered in brightness. At its center rose a fountain, marble figures of dolphins and mermaids arcing together to spill water that flashed silver in the sun. Children chased each other around its rim, shrieking with joy while old men played dice in its shade. Beyond the plaza, the view broke open in a sweep of pure blue. The beach stretched out below them, white and gold, with sails scattered across the horizon like tossed petals. Izzy slowed, then stopped altogether. She tilted her face toward the sky and spread her arms again as though she might drink the whole sight down. "This," she said, her voice soft but certain, "is what we should have been born to. Not iron gates, not blood in the water. This." Kaelen came to stand beside her, broad shoulders cutting a sharp silhouette against the brilliance beyond. For once, there was no scowl in his face, only a kind of wary ease, like a wolf realizing it could lower its hackles for a moment. "If paradise had a face," he rumbled, "I'd say this is close." Izzy glanced at him sidelong, grinning. "Close? Kaelen, look at them." She gestured at the laughing children, the fountain spray catching the sun like diamonds, the vendors shouting cheerfully across the square. Every single one of them looks like they haven't known a day of darkness in their lives. Tell me that isn't paradise. Kaelen let out a long breath through his nose, as if conceding. His stomach growled loud enough to draw a few nearby stares. He gave a lopsided shrug. Paradise could start with a meal. Izzy laughed. the sound bright, and for the first time in a long while, it wasn't sharpened by edge or bitterness. Izzi leaned her elbows on the fountain's rim, fingers trailing through the cool spray. The plaza hummed around them. Laughter, music, gulls crying above. Beyond, the beach stretched in brilliant arcs of white, kissed by the turquoise tide. Kaelen's ears twitched, his head turning slightly. A grin tugged at his tusked mouth. "Ah, I know that voice," he said. Izzi tilted her head, following his gaze. "What voice?" Kaelen's smirk widened. "The kind that rattles the air whether you want it to or not." They drifted toward the overlook, peering down at the stretch of sand. And there he was. Horian Hale in all his boisterous, sunlit glory. He wore light shorts cut just above the knee, showing off legs bronzed by travel. A thin linen shirt hung open down the middle, fluttering in the breeze, leaving his chest bare enough to reveal hard muscle and a mat of chest hair darkened by salt water. He stood barefoot in the sand, shoulders gleaming, hair tossed carelessly by the sea wind. And, of course, he was surrounded. Two women lingered close, both dressed for the water in garments that clung sleek to their forms. One wore a wrap of sheer blue silk knotted at her hip, the other a pearly white shift that left her arms and legs bare. Their skin shone sun-warmed, their laughter bubbling as Horian gestured grandly, his voice carrying clear as a bell across the waves. Izzi's brow arched, eyes narrowing. No. I refuse to believe he'll actually succeed. Kaelen folded his arms, amused. "Want me to wager? If I had some coin left?" Izzi leaned against a column, lips curling into a wicked smile. "I want to watch him trip over his own tongue." But Horian didn't falter. With one dazzling grin, he looped an arm around each woman, pulling them snug to his sides as though it were the most natural thing in the world. The women melted into his embrace, their heads tipping toward his shoulders as they strolled up from the sand, toward the very plaza where Izzi and Kaelen stood. Izzi's jaw actually dropped. "You've got to be joking." Kaelen chuckled, shaking his head. "The loud fool makes it work." "Apparently," Izzi muttered, crossing her arms. As the trio mounted the plaza steps, Kaelen cupped a hand to his mouth and bellowed, "Horian!" The man's head snapped up, his grin widening further, if such a thing were possible. "My gods, look at you! You actually came?" He spread his arms wide, nearly jostling his companions. "By the saints, it's been, what, 3 seasons?" Kaelen snorted. Two? Horian laughed, thumping his chest. "Feels longer. And you?" His eyes narrowed in thought. Don't tell me. Kieran? Callan? No, wait, don't spoil it." Kaelen's smirk flattened into a line. "It's Kaelen." "Kaelen!" Horian roared, pointing as though he'd known it all along. Yes, of course. By the gods, I never forget a face, just the name that comes with it," Izzi muttered under her breath. "Oh, this is going to be fun." Horian eased the two women toward the plaza's edge with a conspiratorial grin. "Darlings, why don't you wait for me at the Azure Lantern? 3rd floor, corner room with the balcony. I'll be along as soon as I settle an old debt with fate." They laughed. One, the girl in the blue silk wrap, flicked his cheek with a fingertip. The other, in the pearly shift, tapped his bare chest as if to make sure it was real. They glided off arm in arm, all sun and perfume and ankle bells. Horian swung back to Kaelen like a storm returning to sea. "You granite-hearted ox, look at you." He grabbed Kaelen by the forearms and tried to shake him. Kaelen didn't budge an inch. "Eating well? Sleeping better? Did the road finally learn it can't kill you?" "Road's smarter than you are," Kaelen rumbled, grinning despite himself. It stopped trying. Horian's eyes snagged on Izzi, the grin sharpened. "And who's this bright blade?" He swept a bow and on his rise delivered a cheeky slap to Izzi's backside. Steel hissed. Izzi spun on her heel. A dagger's flat kissed Horian's wrist before the cut could draw blood. Her eyes were cool slate. "Touch me again and you'll be clapping with stumps." Horian froze, then threw both hands up, laughing, more delighted than chastened. "Saints preserve me, Kaelen, where did you find this one? You hoarding treasures now? Keeping her all to yourself?" Kaelen barked a laugh. "It's not like that." "Pity," Horian said, eyes dancing. He turned full wattage on Izzi. Horian Hale, sailor, swordsman, part-time saint, full-time sinner. I offer tours, dances, and occasionally decent advice. Izzy slid the dagger away without looking, unimpressed. Izzy. Offers declined. He clutched his heart. Declined, without even hearing the package options? Do any of them start with you apologizing properly? She asked, one brow lifting. Horian's grin softened a hair. He dipped his head. You're right. That was crude. Forgive me? A beat. Izzy weighed him, then gave a small tilt of her chin. Forgiven, once. Once is all a wise man needs, he said brightly, then immediately tried. Dinner? No. Dance? No. A walk by the water so I can say clever things and you can pretend to be annoyed? Izzy's mouth twitched. I don't pretend. Kaelen folded his arms, watching with open amusement. She'll eat you alive, Horian. Then I'd die as I lived, Horian said grandly, admired. Izzy stepped past him, giving his open shirt a skeptical once-over. You missed a button. Strategic, he said. Tragic, she corrected. He laughed again, delighted as ever to be refused with style. All right, business before pleasure. You two look road-chewed. Tell me you've come to Cerulea's rest for better sins than survival? Food, a bed, and a day where nothing tries to stab us, Kaelen said. And maybe a swim, Izzy added, gaze skimming the impossible blue. Horian clapped his hands. Then you've come to the right man and the right island. The Azure Lantern's got rooms that don't itch and a house stew that'll make you weep. Come on, my tab is only moderately cursed. He swept an arm toward the sunlit streets, then glanced sidelong at Izzy, mischief returning. And if you change your mind about that dance? I won't, she said, already walking. You'll know where to find me, he finished, unbothered, falling into step between them as if he'd always belonged there. Horian gave them both a long, theatrical once-over and whistled. Saints and salt, look at you two. Road dust in your hair, sea salt on your boots, blood I don't want to ask about. You'll scare the pretty out of the island if you keep walking around like that. He threw an arm around Kaelen's shoulder it barely reached and beckoned Izzy with the other as if sweeping them into a parade. To the Azure Lantern! Come on, loud steps and louder hearts. Once I get you a room, I'll have the innkeep send up basins, soap, hot water, and fresh clothes. Then we dine like forgiving gods. Tomorrow, he spun on his heel, shouting up to the plaza at large. Tomorrow, I'll give you the grand tour? He didn't so much lead as part the crowd by presence alone. The Azure Lantern rose 3 stories above the sun-bright street, all whitewashed plaster and lapis shutters with a blue glass lantern hanging from a wrought iron bracket over the door. Inside, cool shade breathed across tile floors painted with fish and fern fronds. The lobby smelled of citrus peel and beeswax, and a polished bell sat waiting on the counter like a coin of sunlight. Hesta! Horian boomed at the innkeep, a compact woman with silver-streaked hair and the posture of someone who feared nothing. 2 rooms on the 3rd for my battle-blessed friends, if you please. Send up hot water, soap, and anything in linen that won't itch. Oh, and put it on my tab, won't you, love? Hesta's face lit like someone had opened a window. For Horian Hale? Always. She was already reaching for keys. 3rd floor, seaside, the best breeze. I'll have hot water, soap, and fresh linen sent up at once, and a basket of clothes that won't itch. No talk of tabs today, your friends are our guests. She squeezed Horian's forearm as she slid the keys across to Izzy and Kaelen. Welcome to the Lantern. Anything you need, ask and we'll see it done. See? Horian said, spreading his hands at Izzy as if to present a miracle. I'm loved here. They mounted the stairs, broad and blue-tiled, a mosaic of waves climbing with them. On the 3rd floor, a hallway opened onto bright doors, with painted numbers and a salt-tinged breeze moving through. Horian stopped at 3 in a row and slapped keys into their palms with a flourish. 2 keys. Izzy blinked. You got us 2 rooms? Of course, Horian said, affronted that surprise existed. It's nothing at all. I'm loved by all here. Long story, good story. You'll hear it at dinner. Right now, I have 2 beauties who require my undivided attention. He tapped his temple, winked, and angled toward the corner room with the little balcony. Scrub the road off, put on something that doesn't smell like a campfire's regrets, and meet me downstairs when you're settled. He was already backing away, walking and talking at once. Stew that'll make you cry, wine that sings, and a view that forgives every sin you brought with you. Tomorrow, don't forget, the grand tour. Tomorrow, Kaelen echoed, dry as driftwood. Horian bowed at the waist, caught a glimpse of himself in the window and approved, then vanished into his room with a laugh that bounced down the corridor. Izzi and Kaelen traded a look, equal parts amusement and disbelief, then slipped their keys into their doors. Inside, each room was a small, cool sanctuary. Lime-washed walls, a bed draped in white linen that smelled faintly of sun and sea, a shuttered window flung open to a wedge of turquoise horizon, a pitcher of sliced citrus water beaded with condensation on the table. A little dish held coarse sea salt soap and a sprig of rosemary. No sooner had Izzi dropped her pack than a knock came and two boys arrived with steaming copper tubs, puffing like bellows, followed by a basket stacked with folded linen, loose shirts, drawstring trousers, soft wraps in sea glass colors. Across the hall, Kaelen rumbled approval at the sight of a mattress that didn't sag and sheets that didn't scratch. Soft, he muttered to no one, testing it with a palm like he might test a new shield. Izzi lifted a sea green wrap, held it against herself, then set it aside for a pair of pale linen trousers and a sleeveless top that wouldn't catch a dagger hilt. "Paradise," she murmured, grinning at her mirror ghost. From his doorway, Kaelen called, "If the stew's as good as promised, I might forgive Horian for breathing. If the wine runs like rivers, I might forgive him for talking." Izzi shot back. They shut their doors in mirrored clicks, the sound of road-worn travelers letting walls and hot water and clean cotton do their gentle, necessary work, while downstairs the inn bell chimed twice, and the island went on gleaming like a thing that had never learned the word grief. Steam fogged the small copper tubs as hot water sloshed over their edges, carrying away the grit of the road. For the first time in longer than either cared to admit, Izzi and Kaelen let themselves strip down without the shadow of a blade at their backs. Kalen's broad frame caught the light from the window, his scars a map of every battle, every ambush survived. A jagged seam trailed across one shoulder, another cut diagonally along his ribs, pale against his skin. He lowered himself into the water with a grunt that was half relief, half disbelief. "Hells," he muttered, closing his eyes. "I'd forgotten what hot feels like." Across the hall, Izzi let her fingers trail absently to the faint scar at the corner of her lip, the one that showed only when she smiled. The water curled steam around her copper-streaked hair, lifting it like a halo. Her slender ears, tapering to elegant points, flushed pink under the heat, each curve so sensitive she felt every brush of steam as though it were a caress. She scrubbed until her skin prickled and gleamed, until the salt and blood felt like they truly belonged to another life. When she emerged, the basket of fresh clothes was waiting. Kaelen tugged on a light shirt cut loose across his shoulders, the fabric soft, cool, and startlingly clean. Its collar hung open, laced just enough to keep decency while showing the ridges of muscle and scar beneath. Drawstring trousers, sand-colored and comfortable, fell easily into place. He looked, Izzi thought fleetingly, not unlike Horian, only steadier, less polished charm and more unshakable weight. Izzi's own choices were less forgiving. She pulled a short wrap of sea green fabric around her chest, tied snug behind her neck, leaving her midriff bare, her navel catching the light. The linen trousers rode low on her hips, fitted close enough to flatter but light enough for sea air. She caught herself studying her reflection, sleek, sunlit, far removed from the rogue cloaked in dust and leather. For the briefest breath, it flattered her, but her mouth twisted faintly, violet-gray eyes hardening. She was no wide-eyed tourist, no island beauty meant for lounging by fountains. She tightened the knot and straightened her posture, daring the mirror to argue. From the hallway came a burst of laughter, Horian's unmistakable voice booming, followed by the lighter giggles of his companions. Izzi rolled her eyes, tugging her braid over one shoulder. "Persistent fool," she muttered, though there was the ghost of a smile tugging at her mouth. She could admire his sheer audacity, even as he staggered from one conquest to the next. Kaelen stepped out of his room at the same moment, shirt loose across his chest, clean for the first time in months. He arched a brow at her, lips twitching into something caught between amusement and warning. "You look," he rumbled, searching for the word. "Like I'm not impressed," Izzi supplied dryly, slipping past him toward the stairs. "Good," Kaelen said, following, though his eyes flicked once, grudgingly appreciative, before he squared his shoulders. Downstairs, the inn bell rang, and the scent of spiced stew drifted up to meet them. Dinner awaited, and with it, Horian's endless noise. "Gods, he's loud even when he's busy," she muttered. Kaelen huffed through his nose, not quite a laugh. "Well, he's treating us. He can be as loud as he wants." "Fair, fair," she said, her hands up in the air. The common lounge of the Azure Lantern spread wide and welcoming, its vaulted ceiling painted in wave motifs and sea birds. Lanterns of blue glass glowed warmly in the corners, throwing ripples of light across the tiled floor. A handful of travelers sat at small tables, sipping wine or spooning into bowls of spiced stew. A trio of musicians strummed in the corner, their notes bright enough to tangle with the sea breeze drifting through the open shutters. Izzi and Kaelen found a table by the window and sank into its cushions. Minutes stretched. A servant brought them water infused with mint and slices of lemon, but still Horian did not appear. Izzi propped her chin in her palm, playing absently with the tip of her ear. "You know, I thought I was looking forward to an adventure with Horian." She gave a small, rueful smile. "Then I met him." Kaelen let out a low, rolling laugh. "You can have one if you want. I won't fight you for him." Izzi snorted, shaking her head. "No, thank you." Two of those in one party and the gods themselves would pack up and leave. For a moment her eyes drifted, watching the crowd but not seeing it. Renlin would have loved this place, she said softly. The sea, the quiet corners, the endless stories in every face, he would have buried himself in it. Kaelen's gaze flicked to her, steady. Then, with a clap of his hand against the table, he snapped her back. "Don't wander too far, Iz. Tell me, what in the hells do you think Horian's done to make himself so beloved here?" Izzy's lips curved into mischief. "I'd say he bedded half the island, but the other half looks just as happy to see him." A voice carried from behind the counter. Not far off, they turned. Hesta, the innkeep, had come closer, a tray balanced easily on her hip. Her eyes softened at their surprise. "I've known that boy since he was no taller than the counter here. An orphan, left with nothing but his noise. But he grew up helping everyone who'd let him. Storms, dry seasons, pirate raids, even monsters from the reefs. Horian was always first to throw himself in and loud enough to drag others with him. He may be brash and a bit off his rocker, but his heart," she shook her head with a fond smile, "his heart is as steady as this island." Izzi glanced at Kaelen, then back to Hesta, lips quirking. My. Hesta chuckled, tapping the tray. "Don't mistake his charm for cheap coin. He's bought his place here 100 times over." Kaelen leaned back, arms folded, his tusked grin subdued but present. "Seems we've fallen in with a local legend, then." Izzi sighed, swirling the mint leaves in her glass. Loud, reckless, impossible, and loved. From above, another burst of laughter thundered through the ceiling. Izzi pressed her fingers to her temple. And still loud. The stairwell boomed with footsteps before Horian himself appeared, shirt looser than before, hair tousled in a way that spoke of hands other than his own. He spread his arms wide the moment he spotted them, grin so bright it seemed to chase the shadows off the walls. My friends, he bellowed. "Forgive my lateness, what can I say? The women upstairs simply would not let me leave." He winked, unapologetic, and dropped into the empty chair at their table like a man claiming his throne. Hesta herself arrived a heartbeat later with trays balanced along her arms. Dishes of spiced olives, bread brushed with oil and herbs, and at the center, steaming bowls of a rich seafood stew whose scent filled the room with warmth and wine. The three of them leaned in as bowls were placed before them. The table suddenly transformed into a banquet fit for gods. "You look much better now," Horian said, raising his mug in a toast. "Fit for the scenery at least. Feast, but don't grow too full. Tomorrow brings swimming and still more food. Tonight," his grin sharpened. "Pick your poison. What do you drink?" "Wine," Izzi answered immediately, leaning back in her chair with an easy smile. "Dark ale," Kaelen said, steady as stone. "Done and done," Horian barked, snapping his fingers for the serving boy. "The lady drinks from the vine, the warrior from the grain." They dug in, and silence fell, broken only by the scrape of spoons and the occasional involuntary sound of delight. The stew was a medley of mussels, shrimp, and tender white fish, simmered in saffron and wine, kissed with herbs that tasted of sunlight itself. Kaelen set his spoon down slowly, staring into his bowl as though it had played a trick on him. "I've never had stew this good." His voice was low, genuine, nearly reverent. Horian leaned back, smacking the table with the flat of his palm. "Hesta, you haven't lost your touch?" From across the room, Hesta raised her own mug in salute, smiling. Izzi lingered over her glass of wine, her violet gray eyes catching the lantern light. She glanced at Horian, laughter dancing just beneath her voice. "Horian? Thank you." Horian leaned forward, elbows braced on the table, grin tilting sly. "Maybe I'll get that dance after all?" Izzi smirked, spoon poised above the stew, her voice dry as salt. "Don't push your luck." She took a slow bite, eyes closing as the flavor melted on her tongue, as if to prove she'd chosen her prize already. Kaelen chuckled into his mug. Horian threw his head back and laughed, the sound carrying over the music and chatter, big enough to fill the whole tavern. For once, the night belonged not to shadows or blood, but to food, warmth, and the rare kind of laughter that didn't hurt to hear. The wine kept coming, ruby in glass and sweet on the tongue, and Izzi let every cup slip down as though she could drink the whole sea itself. Her cheeks flushed, violet-gray eyes bright with mischief, and a wide grin spread across her lips that never seemed to fade. Across from her, Kaelen held his mug with slow, deliberate care, drinking enough to be polite, though he tried to keep the stone wall of his composure. His tusked mouth twitched now and again, betraying amusement. "Horian?" He matched them drink for drink and then some, but the man's eyes never clouded, his voice never slurred. He leaned back in his chair, gesturing grandly with one hand while the other clutched a tankard, and launched into a tale that made the whole corner of the tavern lean closer. And there they were, 5 pirates, all blades and teeth, thinking they could drag Hesta out to the docks and make her talk. "But Horian thumped his chest with his free hand. "I wasn't about to let that stand. I jumped from the balcony of this very inn, landed square on their captain, broke his nose with my elbow. No weapon needed, mind you." "You were drunk," Hesta shouted from the counter, though her smile betrayed the warmth of memory. Drunk, yes. But rum lends courage, my dear." Horian shot back, laughter booming. "Anyway, one by one I knocked them senseless, tied them up with their own rope, and sent them back to sea with a note pinned to the mast. Never touch the lantern again." Izzi let out a hiccup of a laugh, nearly spilling her wine as she leaned forward. "Pinned it? Did you use one of your fancy buttons, Horian? Or, oh gods, maybe?" As she dissolved into laughter, Kaelen chuckling low beside her. Horian only grinned wider, basking in the glow of his own legend. "No button, just a dagger that still sits in my belt. Proof, if anyone doubts." The laughter rolled on, the drinks kept flowing, until Izzi's smirk softened into something drowsier. She blinked slow, her head dipping lower with each word, until finally she folded her arms on the table and rested her head atop them. Kaelen's eyes cut to her, then to Horian. "Ha! She's done, looks like." Horian raised his mug in salute. "She lasted longer than most who try to match me." Kaelen pushed back his chair, steady as ever, and bent to Izzi's side. She groaned in protest, voice muffled by her sleeve. "No, I want to stay." "One more." "You've had enough," Kaelen rumbled, coaxing her upright. Izzi's arm hooked lazily around his, her braids slipping forward across her shoulder. As Kaelen guided her toward the stairs, she tilted her head back, bleary-eyed, and grinned toward Horian. "Horian, thanks. You're the best." Horian's laughter chased them across the common room, warm and thunderous. "Sleep well, elf. Tomorrow the island is yours?" Kaelen shook his head, half smiling as he steered Izzi upstairs. "Gods help us all if it is."
Thank you for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe. More chapters are on the way.